Well, another parcel has arrived, and this time it looks like another set of dummies. The dummies that tell us what the next iPhones are going to look like. So let's take a look. Now, it is far too early in the year to be thinking about the iPhone 17, but there are strong rumours of an iPhone SE, 4th generation, and I reckon that's what we're about to see here. A dummy for the iPhone SE 4th generation 2025. Now, it was 3 years ago, early March, that Apple announced the iPhone SE 3rd generation. It was a cracking little phone, modelled on the iPhone 8 or 6, whatever way you want to look at it, but it had the guts inside of the iPhone 11, so it made it a very powerful device, but it still had the home button, and people loved that. However, I think we're about to say RIP to the home button officially. So let's have a look what this dummy actually is. Now, I brought with me for sample purposes iPhone 16 Pro, iPhone 16, an old iPhone XS I think this is, and the original iPhone 3G, which was the first phone for Australia, the first iPhone in Australia. Now, the reason I brought these two is because I don't actually have a 6 or 8 or an SE, but it sits in between these two for size. So the big question is, where does the new iPhone SE sit size-wise? This here is the iPhone 16. I picked this up from downstairs in the office and I went, is this one of the dummies from last year? I went back down thinking it was a dummy and then turned it on and realised that it is actually a working iPhone 16. That's how good the dummies are that we receive. So, let's see. What is this? All right, now I can tell you straight up, it looks like it's the size of the iPhone 16, almost to the measure. That is spot on, identical size to the iPhone 16, but you can see one vast and obvious difference. That is a single camera. So iPhone SE has always been essentially a pared back iPhone, an entry-level iPhone. Remember, in Australia, the iPhone SE 3rd generation started at $720, and that's exceptional value. Now, this here, if we have a closer look, I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see all the little details, because there's a lot of little rumours about what this will have in terms of screen technology. Now remember, your iPhone 16 and 16 Pro and many before it have the island, the dynamic island on top. So that's up there. You'll see that little dynamic island. So instead of a notch that started out with the 10 series, the notch in the top, the later models have the dynamic island. This, I can tell you right here, impossible for you to see because it doesn't turn on, but I can tell you that if we were able to get you a good look inside that top little area there, you're going to find that the next iPhone SE 4th generation has a notch. So it has a notch, it has a decent sized camera though, also. It has the same speaker configuration as notch phones did have. It has a switch on the side for volume. So another question mark around the SE, will it bring the action button? So that's, remember iPhone prior to the action button, we had the switch to turn mute and not. So basically what you've got is a SIM card tray, volume up and down, and a switch, and no camera button. So certainly not an iPhone 16 by any measure, but gee whiz, I'm going to take that lens cover off. Certainly has the scale, the size, the dimensions of an iPhone 16, remarkably so. Like, we are talking, I think there's 0.5 millimetre in that, if that. I mean, it is to the letter the size of the iPhone 16, standard iPhone 16, with a single camera, with a notch, and with a trigger, a switch for volume and mute. Now, the big question, which I can't answer from a dummy like this, is what is the capabilities inside this? I'll tell you this, Apple is not going to release a phone in 2025 that is not Apple Intelligence compatible. So that begs the question, what processor will be inside this? The iPhone SE 3rd generation had an A15 chip in it. We've come a long way since then. We're now up to A18 and 18 Pro. But it also shows you how recent the iPhone SE is. 15 is only 3 generations ago. Now the iPhone 15 Pro, which is Apple Intelligence compatible, has an A17 Pro chip in it. The iPhone 16 has an A18. The iPhone 16 Pro Max, which are Pro and Pro Max, which I don't have sitting here with me, they're 18 Pro. It's not going to have an 18 Pro chip. I can rule that out. Now, whether it has a 17 Pro or an 18 is the real question. I personally think that they will go with the A18 chip to make it fully Apple Intelligence compatible, iPhone SE with Apple Intelligence, and zero questions about its generational life. This phone, if it is the iPhone SE 4th generation, should last you 6 or 7 years. That's why people buy this. It's affordable. Now, will it be the same price? I've got to tell you, because it's the same size as iPhone 10s and iPhone 16s, and so, which means it's going to have the same screen size as an iPhone 16, and it's a big jump up in size from what was the iPhone 8 and 6 and the SE. It's going to be more expensive. I just don't know how they avoid that. They've got a bigger screen. They are using some older technologies like the notch, but I don't think it's going to come in at the same price. In Australia, $720. In other markets, obviously less and different depending on your dollar or your exchange. I mean, for me, it needs to be an $850 product or less for it to be an appealing, affordable iPhone. Remember, there are refurbished, second-hand iPhones out there that are great value for people. So I think they've got a lot of competition here. It's a single camera. It's not going to offer all of the great camera features, but they'll talk up its portrait capabilities through software. So using the power and the performance of the device, I'm sure it will have portrait capabilities, but it is, in all senses, a pared back iPhone. It's the size of the iPhone 16, but with the capabilities of maybe an iPhone 14, but the power potentially of the iPhone 16. I think it's a compelling model. It's great value for parents buying for kids. It's a great value for people who are just having to upgrade and don't really want to. But the big problem will be no home button. There's a lot of people who stress about that. I have personally worked through people going, I'm sorry, you've got to upgrade to this, and just teach them the basics of the swipe, the basics of the app switching, and it becomes very quickly second nature. So you kind of need to move past that, folks. This is the death of the Apple home button officially. The last device with the home button is about to be superseded by the new iPhone SE 4th generation. Now, something I simply cannot answer from this dummy is the charging port. Now, I have to tell you that from basic use, so this is a USB-C to Lightning cable, Lightning fits in the bottom. USB-C does not. Now, for context, on last year's dummy, that's a dummy phone, the USB-C cord did go in, and a Lightning plug feels like it won't go in because there is the single internal mechanism of the USB-C port. If I grab a dummy from Lightning days, the Lightning does squeeze in. It takes a lot to squeeze it in there, and the USB-C obviously doesn't go anywhere near it. So I'm quite perplexed by this because obviously it's going to have USB-C, but Lightning fits in this very easily. Far too easy compared to the last Lightning dummy, but USB-C does not fit in at all when compared to the last 2 years' dummies. So look, we could maybe conjecture that this won't be sold in European markets, and therefore it doesn't have to have USB-C. Maybe they pander to people who have a Lightning connection and don't want to buy a new cable. I don't think so, though. I think Apple makes this a global phone. I think it's USB-C, and I simply think the dummy has a large enough port and large enough area, and any case manufacturer, which is what these dummies are made for, it's for case manufacturers to work out how to make it all work. They will simply account for the USB-C. So look, I think it'll have USB-C. We know nothing officially. This is complete conjecture from me based on this very high quality dummy that I have here. My guess is we'll see it late February as opposed to March, because I think timing is pushing towards that. So I think we'll see an announcement late February with the device going on sale somewhere in March. Impossible to know for sure. Most important for me, I'll be looking at what processor does it have. It will, I'll put my house on the fact that it has Apple Intelligence. Spot on, because they have to release all the devices with Apple Intelligence now. That's the market we're in. Stay tuned for full details of when Apple do announce the next generation SE. Is this it? I think so.